Our town is going to build an airport. Relocation team people went door to door measuring houses, negotiating compensation, but I waited 3 months. No one ever knocked on my door. Only later did I find out. On the planning map, my family's land had been deliberately left out of the red line. So I got angry. I went to the town government. The answer I got was that the plan was set. No way around it. My neighbors saw this and mocked me. Well, that's it. Stay stuck in your rundown house for life. I didn't say a word. Instead, I took out all the savings I'd built up over half my life, and took out a loan. Scraped together 10 million. 6 months later, the old house turned into a 10-story building. I put up a sign that read Cloud Hotel. The notice at the entrance, no entry for non-guests, became the most eye-catching sight in the entire airport area. As soon as the news of building an airport spread, our place called Peaceville could never be peaceful again. All of a sudden, compensation money, resettlement apartments, the future new life became the town's eternal topic. White vans printed with relocation office logos shuttled back and forth on the town's dirt roads. Workers carrying tape measures and notebooks went door to door measuring, registering, and negotiating. My father's house stood at the easternmost edge of town, a 2-story old building with some age. After my parents passed away early, I was the only one living here. On the first day, the relocation van drove past my door without stopping. I figured they started measuring from the west end. My turn hadn't come yet. The first week, neighbor Aunt Lee's family reached an agreement. Word was they got a nice chunk of money. She couldn't stop smiling. Every time she saw me, she'd ask loudly, "Aching, your family must be next, right?" I just nod and smile in reply. The first month, households in the eastern part also started signing one after another. Soon, red demolish characters appeared on every wall in town. Only my wall remained gray and dusty, very clean. My heart began to pound with anxiety. Another 2 months passed. Most families in the town had already moved away. Seeing this, a sense of dread spread through my heart. So I went to the town government. I found the town mayor, Zhang Daxian. He was busy on the phone. When he saw me push the door open, he just lifted his eyelids impatiently. "What is it?" I stepped forward and asked. "Mayor Zhang, I want to ask about the airport demolition. Why isn't our house included?" Zhang Daxian. Hearing this, he slowly put down the phone. He pulled a huge planning map out of his drawer. Pointing at it, he said, "See for yourself." I leaned in to look, and my heart sank heavily. The red demolition line on the planning map was like a sharp blade, cutting tightly along the edge of my house's wall. And my little building, like a forgotten island, was left isolated outside the red line. I stared hard at that red line, my voice trembling slightly. "How is this possible? Is there a mistake?" Zhang Daxian's tone was icy, without a trace of warmth. "There's no mistake. That's how the plan was decided. There's nothing we can do about it." I couldn't help pressing further. "But why is the whole town being demolished? Why is our house the only one left out?" Zhang Daxian's voice suddenly rose, carrying the unquestionable authority of an official. "I told you, this was the expert's decision in the planning. What can I do about it? All right, I have a meeting. You should go back." With that, he walked straight out of the office. As soon as I stepped into my home, I ran straight into Aunt Lee, who was directing the movers, as they loaded furniture piece by piece onto the truck. When she saw how lost I looked, a gloating smile crept across her face. She spoke up and asked, "Aching went to ask?" I didn't say anything. Seeing me silent, he pursed his lips. "I told you so. Your house's location is tricky. They're building an airport, and your house is right on the edge. It doesn't block anything, but demolishing it would mean compensation. Money. That's not cost-effective." Just then another neighbor leaned in and sneered. "Well, from now on, you'll be the only one in the whole town stuck in that rundown house for the rest of your life, surrounded by the airport. The noise will drive you crazy." Aunt Lee laughed even louder, chiming in, "You said it. While the rest of us move into new apartments in the city, Aching will still be breathing airplane exhaust." Those harsh laughs pierced my ears like needles. But I didn't argue with them. I just slowly raised my head, gazing quietly at the small building that had grown up with me. In the end, the moving truck rumbled away. I stood on the empty street, pulled out my phone and dialed. "Hello, Suwon? It's me, fucking." A gentle female voice came through the phone. She asked, puzzled, "Aching, why did you suddenly think to call me?" I hesitated for a moment, then said, "I wanted to ask you about a loan." Suwon and I grew up together as childhood friends. She studied finance in college, and now works as a client manager at a bank in the city. Suwon asked, surprised, "A loan? Aching, what happened?" I replied calmly, "Nothing. I want to renovate my family's old house." Suwon grew even more confused, pressing, "Renovate? I heard your town is building an airport. Everyone is supposed to be relocated, right?" I briefly explained the situation. "My house isn't within the demolition zone. There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line. Su-won's voice carried a hint of anger. Isn't that bullying? How could the planning map be so coincidental? It just happens to bypass your whole family. I said calmly. Whether it's a coincidence or not no longer matters. Su-won pressed on. Then what do you plan to do? Just hold on to that old house? I looked out at the empty land and answered word by word, no, I'm going to tear it down and rebuild. After hearing this, Su-won was silent for a long time before saying, Aching, have you thought it through? This is no small amount of money. I replied firmly. I have. How much do you need? I have 200,000 in savings, left by my parents, and saved from working these years. I want to borrow another 300,000. That makes 500,000 in total. Hearing that number, Su-won on the other end of the line gasped sharply. 500,000? Aching, are you crazy? You're just rebuilding a home for yourself. How could it cost that much? What I'm building isn't an ordinary house. My eyes fixed on the massive outline of the future airport in the distance. That place will be bustling with people, endless business travelers, and my house is the closest to the airport, and will be the only private building there. I asked Su-won, what do you think about opening a hotel right next to the new airport? What's the outlook? Hearing this, Su-won stood frozen in place. She has always been sharp, and instantly understood my intention. She exclaimed, a hotel? You want to open a hotel? Aching, you're taking too big a step. Do you know how to run it? Do you have any connections? The risk is too high. Facing his worry, I asked him back, the risk is huge. Or holding onto a worthless old house, waiting for it to slowly rot in the noise of planes. Which is scarier? After hearing my words, Su-won, with a face full of worry, spoke up. But 300,000 is not a small amount. Using your old house as collateral, the valuation might not be enough, and there's no proof of income. Before she could finish, I interrupted her. I know, that's why I came to you. You're a professional. Help me see if there's any way. Actually, I know I'm putting her in a tough spot, but I have no other path left, because this is the only chance I have to change my fate. Su-won let out a long sigh and said, Aching, you're still the same as before. When you don't speak, it's fine. But once you open your mouth, you scare people to death. How about this? Bring your property deed and documents to my office tomorrow. I'll help you sort things out and see what channels we can use. I can't guarantee anything, but I'll do my best. I said gratefully, thank you. To lighten the mood, Su-won cracked a joke. Don't thank me yet. Once your hotel is up and running, just save me a lifetime free presidential suite. To that, I replied very seriously. Deal. So the next day at dawn, I squeezed onto the first bus to the city, carrying all my hopes. As soon as we met, Su-won started marking up my documents, made countless phone calls, took me to several different offices. The bank's review staff, when they saw my property deed marked outside the red line, all had expressions of utter disbelief in their eyes. Lending to an island surrounded by an airport was far too risky. So I explained my business plan over and over again. But when they looked at me, this silent, even somewhat introverted young man, their eyes were full of doubt. During that time, there were many moments when I felt I couldn't go on. Fortunately, Su-won kept encouraging me by my side. She not only helped me perfect my business plan, but also taught me step by step how to communicate with the bank staff. She even used her own connections to take the branch manager out for a meal. A week later, just when I was nearly at the point of despair, Su-won called me. Her voice on the other end of the line was tinged with exhaustion, but even more so with excitement. Aching, it's been approved. Hearing that, I couldn't help asking excitedly. Really? She said excitedly, really. 300,000 yuan, funds released within a week. I made a pledge with our bank manager and pushed your project as this year's key initiative, an innovative pilot project. Before I managed to convince him, I held the phone, unable to speak for a long time. Tears welled up without warning. I said gratefully, Su-won, thank you. Su-won laughed and replied, silly, what are you thanking me for? I then promised, once I get the money, I'll treat you to a meal. But Su-won laughed and said, no need for a meal. Just get your hotel built quickly. I'm waiting to stay in the presidential suite. After hanging up, I walked to the window and looked out at the massive airport construction site that had already begun. A week later, my phone received a text message. Your account has been credited with 300,000 yuan. Staring at that long string of zeros, I couldn't help but take a deep breath. A total of 500,000. This was not only my entire life savings, but also my entire gamble. I said to myself in my heart, Father, you have no way back. I answered firmly, only win, cannot lose. The day after getting the money, I immediately contacted the best architectural design firm in the city, hired the most famous construction team in the town. The foreman of the construction team was surnamed Zhao. He was a straightforward man. Seeing my family's old house, he couldn't help scratching his head. Aching, Are you really going to demolish this house? Rebuild, you say? Foreman Zhao then asked. Started? What do you plan to build it into? Let me tell you, this area in the future will all be airport. Building an ordinary house here won't be comfortable to live in. I then took out a blueprint and said, Uncle Zhao, don't worry. The blueprint has already been designed by someone I hired. After Foreman Zhao took the blueprint, he only glanced at it, and his eyes widened. Oh my goodness! For floors, plus a basement and a viewing terrace? Are you planning to build a small Western-style house? Hearing this, I calmly replied, not a Western-style house. It's a hotel. Foreman Zhao immediately said in shock. Foreman Zhao and the workers behind him were stunned. The expressions on their faces were exactly the same as the bank staff earlier. Foreman Zhao couldn't help but ask doubtfully, Aching, are you joking? In this place with no village ahead, and no fields behind, opening a hotel? I pointed at the dusty airport construction site in the distance and said, in the future, this place will not be with no village ahead, and no fields behind. Look, that place will become the liveliest spot in Anning Town. Foreman Zhao looked at my determined eyes and fell silent. Then he stared at the blueprint for a long time, then looked up at the location of my house, and his expression gradually changed. Then he slapped his thigh, and said with sudden realization, I understand. Aching, you've got a sharp mind there. This is what you call seizing the opportunity. Captain Zhao exclaimed excitedly, continuing, everyone else thinks this is a dead end for you. But if you actually build that hotel, it'll become a gold mine. People coming off the plane are tired and worn out. Who wouldn't want to find a place to rest as soon as possible? Your hotel is the first thing they see when they open their eyes, isn't it? I was a bit surprised. Uncle Zhao understood my idea so quickly. So I asked, Uncle Zhao, are you willing to take on this job? Uncle Zhao immediately thumped his chest with a loud bang. He agreed readily. Why wouldn't he take on such an interesting job? You couldn't find one like this even with a lantern. Don't worry. However the blueprints are drawn, I'll build it exactly that way. I guarantee I'll make it look great, solid and sturdy. The bulldozer rolled into the yard. That day made a huge commotion. Some neighbors who hadn't moved yet came over to watch the excitement. When they saw the shack that housed my childhood memories collapse with a crash under the bulldozer's iron arm, they couldn't help but cry out in shock. This couple has really lost their minds. They tore down a perfectly good house just like that. What does he think he's doing? I heard he brought a lot of money. He's going to build a fancy Western-style house here. Aunt Lee, seeing this, crossed her arms and sneered. Build a fancy house? I think he has too much money, and nowhere to spend it. Once it's built, he'll be living alone in such a big house. Aren't you afraid at night? The people nearby chimed in. Exactly, there's not even a neighbor around. It's like living in a graveyard. I think he's just trying to save face, making himself suffer for it. Going against the planning like this, does he think he'll get any good out of it? I turned a deaf ear to all the gossip, just standing in front of a patch of rubble and debris. After watching the workers for a short while, the commotion alerted the town mayor, Zhang Daxian. He sat in his car, rolling down the window, watching him from a distance. Probably never expected that instead of coming to him crying and begging, he had stirred up such a big fuss. Then Zhang Daxian shouted fucking through the car window. I walked over and asked, something wrong? His tone carried accusation. What are you doing? Renovating the house. He pressed on with his questioning. Do you need to knock down the entire house for a renovation? This is rebuilding. Did you get the approval paperwork? I did, Zhang Daxian. He hadn't expected me to have all the procedures done so thoroughly. His face turned ugly. He tossed the documents back to me, his voice laced with threat. I'm warning you, don't do anything reckless. The airport construction is a major project. If you dare to obstruct construction or build illegally, don't blame me for being unkind. I carefully put the documents away, looking him straight in the eye. Don't worry. Everything I do is within the bounds of the law and regulations. I won't hinder anyone, and I ask that no one hinders me from making big money. He had probably never seen such a tough attitude from me. In the end, he gave a heavy snort, rolled up the window and sped off. I knew he came today to warn me, and also to test me. In the days that followed, I practically lived at the construction site. Soon, the framework of the building rose from the empty land, growing upward visibly day by day. In the first month, the foundation and basement were finished. In the second, the main structure was topped out. Finally, when the last truckload of concrete was poured on the fourth-floor roof, Uncle Zhao set off a string of firecrackers in excitement. I stood on the freshly formed bare rooftop, looking down at the land beneath my feet, looking around. The outline of the distant airport is becoming clearer day by day. My hotel and the future airport seem to be engaged in a silent competition to see who can appear before the world faster. Just on this day, I was discussing the exterior wall materials with the designer at the construction site. A convoy of law enforcement vehicles roared up. The doors opened and out came more than a dozen people in uniforms from different departments. The leader was a middle-aged man, and Zheng Daxian followed behind him, a faint, barely noticeable sneer on his face. The middle-aged man sternly demanded who was in charge here. I stepped forward and said I am. He waved his credentials in front of me. Said we are a joint law enforcement team, having received a citizen's complaint that there is serious illegal construction here, major safety hazards, and environmental pollution. My heart sank when I heard this. I knew trouble was coming. Zheng Daxian stood by without speaking, but his gloating eyes said it all. Facing them, I replied calmly, all our procedures are legal, and the construction fully complies with national standards. Whether it's legal or not is not up to you to decide. Check it thoroughly. Don't miss a single corner. The people behind him immediately scattered, flooding into my construction site. Some inspected fire safety. Some measured noise levels. Some took air samples. Some flipped through our construction logs. The foremen and workers were dumbfounded. They wanted to step forward and argue, but I stopped them. Let them check, because I knew in my heart, this was Zheng Daxian's revenge. The more times like this, the more I cannot panic. The entire afternoon, my site was in a state of standstill, during which various harassments came one after another. The rebar spacing here seems off. Get a measuring tape. Your dust control measures are inadequate. We're going to issue a fine. Where's the canteen's hygiene permit? Take it out. Let me see. Zheng Daxian kept leaning in to whisper something into the middle-aged man's ear. Then they both cast towards me a malicious gaze, and I remained silent throughout, only using my phone to clearly record their every move, and each person's face. Until the sun was about to set, they had almost turned the entire construction site upside down. Finally, they gathered together, with the middle-aged man making a summary. After our detailed inspection all afternoon, your construction site basically meets the standards. Clearly, he was very reluctant to say those words. My heart finally settled down, because I knew, from the moment I decided to build the hotel, I had perfected every single detail. I hired the best supervision company. I required a certificate of quality for every batch of building materials. Every construction step strictly followed the blueprints. My goal was to build a building that no one could find any fault with. Zheng Daxian's face turned very ugly. Clearly, he hadn't expected that someone in his 20s like me could be so flawless in his actions. Then the middle-aged man changed his tone. But considering that your construction site is right next to the airport, the key project is a special case. To ensure nothing goes wrong, we have decided to order you to stop work for a week for rectification and conduct a comprehensive self-inspection. Uncle Zhao was the first to shout uncontrollably. On what grounds? We have no problems at all. Why should we stop work? Immediately, the middle-aged man put on a stern face and said, this is an order. If you refuse to comply, we will revoke your construction permit. However, looking at his greasy and arrogant face, I suddenly smiled. Station Master Zheng, I have the phone numbers of all the leaders from the Municipal Housing and Urban Rural Construction Bureau, the Fire Department, and the Environmental Protection Bureau. I also just sent the video I recorded to a friend of mine. He works for the provincial media. What if I told them exactly what happened this afternoon? How would they react? I'm just an ordinary person trying to protect my home. No power, no influence. This clumsy method is all I have left to defend myself. Hearing this, the smile instantly froze on his face. He stared at me in shock, his eyes filled with disbelief. He probably never dreamed that I, an orphan he saw as weak and easy to bully, would still have such a card up my sleeve. At that moment, the middle-aged man also sensed the tension. He hurried over and asked Town Mayor Zheng. Look at this. Zheng Daxian shot me a vicious glare and said through gritted teeth, let him keep building. With that, he got into his car without looking back and fled in disgrace with that so-called enforcement team. A cheer erupted on the construction site. The party secretary and the workers all gave me a thumbs up, praising me. Aching, you're awesome. But only I knew. What I just said was half true, half false. I did record a video, but the media friend was something I made up. I was gambling, betting that Zheng Daxian was guilty and wouldn't dare to stir up more trouble. I won that bet, but I also knew he wouldn't let it go. So I looked at the city lights in the distance and took out my phone. Hello, Su-Wan? After Su-Wan listened to me recount what happened this afternoon, she was silent for a long time, so I tentatively asked, hello, Su-Wan, are you still there? Her voice sounded tired, but also very calm. Aching, don't panic yet. I replied, I'm not panicking. I just want to know what I should do next. Su-Wan analyzed on the other end. If you fight him head-on on his turf, you'll definitely come out worse. We need a different approach. I immediately pressed, what approach? The art of war says, in battle, engage with the orthodox and win with the unconventional. You have all the necessary procedures now. Legal and compliant. This is why Zheng Daxian makes big money. He wants to find fault with you but can't. So he has to resort to dirty tricks. What we need to do is strike with a surprise move where he least expects it. I quietly listened to Su Wan's analysis. It gradually cleared my confused thoughts. So I asked what this surprise move was. Su Wan answered word by word. The airport is the Anning International Airport project itself, which is under construction. I was stunned by her words. She continued, "What is the future core competitiveness of your hotel? It's its unique geographical location. It's its zero distance from the airport, so from now on, you can't just focus on this small piece of land in Anning Town. Even more, you can't keep staring at a clown like Zheng Daxian. You have to elevate your vision to the same level as the airport project. You need to find a way to make the airport project team see you as one of their own." Su Wan's words were like a lightning bolt that instantly split the fog before my eyes. I finally understood. The reason Zheng Daxian could bully me without restraint. It is precisely because in his eyes, I am just a powerless individual. But if I can tie myself to that behemoth, the airport, and make a fortune, then anyone who wants to move against me will have to think twice. But the question is how to tie myself to it, I said, somewhat troubled. The airport project is a key project at both the provincial and municipal levels. The people in charge are all high-ranking. I simply can't get in touch with them. Su Wan laughed upon hearing this. Who said you have to contact the big bosses directly? Aching, have you forgotten what your advantage is? I asked in confusion. My advantage? Su Wan immediately explained. Your construction site is now the only place in the entire Anning Town, aside from the airport construction site, where a large number of workers gather. How many workers are there at the airport site? Surely there are several thousand, right? What about their meals? What about their accommodation? What about their daily expenses? As far as I know, to meet the construction deadline, they enforced a closed management system. The workers' lives were actually quite dull and very inconvenient, while you were right next to them. I understood immediately after hearing that, and quickly asked, "You mean I should do business with them?" Su Wan's voice carried a hint of excitement. It's not just about doing business. This is your best chance to break into the airport project. You can use your current construction site to set up a small temporary living service area, a small convenience store, a food stall, an open-air cinema. The investment won't be big, but it will immediately solve the urgent needs of the airport workers. What you're providing isn't goods. It's convenience. It's care. When these thousands of workers all remember your kindness, what do you think the airport construction leaders will think of you? They'll see you as a visionary, a responsible partner, someone who can help stabilize their rear and eliminate their worries. By then, your hotel won't just be a lonely building, but a supporting service center for the airport project. To make big money, would he dare come after you? Would he dare oppose the entire airport project? After hearing this, I gripped the phone, trembling with excitement, unable to speak for a long time. Su Wan, you're a genius. Su Wan said with a smile. I'm not a genius. You inspired me. Someone who can think of building a hotel next to the airport can't be a fool themselves. Su Wan then added a reminder. You need to do this quickly, before Zheng Daxian makes his next move. Deploy our surprise strategy. I quickly asked what I needed to do. Su Wan suggested go find Uncle Zhao. He has workers under him, and technical skills, to put up a temporary shelter. Open a food stall. It's a piece of cake for him. For the supply, you can directly contact the wholesale market in the city. I'll give you a few phone numbers. They're all my clients. Reliable. The most important thing is fair pricing. Things must be clean and hygienic. What we want is not huge profits. It's people's hearts. After hanging up the phone, I felt every cell in my body was activated. The previous fatigue and confusion were swept away, replaced by unprecedented fighting spirit and hope. I found Uncle Zhao that very night, told him my idea. After listening, Uncle Zhao slapped his thigh and praised. This is a great idea. I've long felt sorry for those brothers at the airport, eating in the cafeteria every day. Their mouths are almost flavorless. Let's set up a food stall. Get some beer and skewers. They'll be thrilled. Uncle Zhao patted his chest and promised. Aching, you can rest assured. Leave this to me. Tomorrow I'll bring people to level the site for you. Guaranteed to open within 3 days. Sure enough, the town mayor's execution exceeded my expectations. 3 days later, a huge, crude food court built with steel pipes and color steel tiles began to take shape. I gave it a name, called Gas Station. It's both to refuel the workers and to refuel myself. At the same time, Zheng Daxian's people had been secretly watching. Seeing that we weren't building a hotel, but instead putting up sheds, they were all confused. Soon, on the opening day of the gas station food stall, I held a small ceremony. I wrote a few big characters on red paper, pasted them at the entrance. First 3 days of opening. All dishes and drinks half price. I also had Uncle Zhao send a few workers go to the entrance of the airport construction site to hand out flyers. In the evening, the sky wasn't fully dark yet. The end-of-shift bell rang at the airport construction site. Hundreds of workers poured out of the gate like a tide. Most of them were covered in dust, with tired faces. When they saw our brightly lit place, and smelled the aroma of grilled meat and stir-fry drifting in the air, they all froze. Someone asked curiously, "What place is that? Why is it so lively? Looks like a place to eat, called something like gas station." Someone suggested, "Let's go over and take a look." The first customer was a young guy who looked very young, with a naive look on his face. "Boss, is it really half price here?" I replied with a smile. "Really?" He ordered, "Then give me a bowl of twice-cooked pork over rice, with 2 extra eggs." "Coming right up." I cooked it myself. In the fastest time, I brought a steaming hot, heaping bowl of rice topped with generous portions to him. The young guy stared at the mountain of twice-cooked pork. His eyes went wide. Soon, the second and third customers also arrived. Half an hour later, the whole gas station was packed with people. They gathered in small groups, ordering a few plates of side dishes, several cases of beer. The emotions that had been suppressed all day at the construction site were fully unleashed under the catalyst of alcohol and good food. The originally empty and dead night was completely ignited by this vibrant, lively noise. Uncle Zhao and his workers were also at one of the tables, drinking until their faces were flushed red. The first step of my plan was a success. Over the next few days, the gas station's business got hotter and hotter. Explosive, the wildly popular gas station became the workers' only solace and paradise. In their monotonous life at the construction site, the workers who were eating saw this and frowned. Clearly they could tell these guys were here to cause trouble. So I came out from the back kitchen, untied my apron, calmly asked what a few of you would like to eat. Zhang Chong looked me up and down. His eyes were full of aggression. "So you're the boss. We're not here to eat. We're here to collect protection money." He held up 5 fingers and said, "If you want to do business in Anningtown, you have to follow our rules. This much every month." But before I could say anything, a burly man from the next table suddenly stood up. This man was a contractor at the airport construction site. His surname was Zhang. He came to my place to eat almost every day. Contractor Zhang then asked in a gruff voice, "Who are you guys?" The workers eating nearby frowned at the sight. Clearly they could tell these men were here to cause trouble. So I walked out of the kitchen, untied my apron, calmly asked what a few of you would like to eat. Zhang Chong looked me up and down. His eyes were full of aggression. "So you're the boss. We're not here to eat. We're here to collect protection money." He held up 5 fingers and said, "If you want to do business in Anningtown, you have to follow our rules. This much every month." But before I could say anything, a burly man from the next table suddenly stood up. This man was a contractor at the airport construction site. His surname was Zhang. He came to my place to eat almost every day. Contractor Zhang then asked in a gruff voice, "Who are you guys? Coming here to act wild?" Zhang Chong glanced at him sideways with disdain. "And who do you think you are? An adult's business. Kids shouldn't interrupt. Otherwise I'll deal with you too." Contractor Zhang laughed after hearing that. He didn't say anything else. Instead he picked up an empty beer bottle from the table and gave it a gentle squeeze. With a crisp crack, the glass bottle shattered into countless pieces in his hand. Seeing this, the smiles on Zhang Chong and his lackeys' faces froze. Then, from all directions stood up dozens of equally sturdy workers. Some of them were holding beer bottles in their hands, while others grabbed stools. They didn't utter a single word, and silently surrounded Zhang Chong and his men. These workers came from all corners of the country, and had spent years toiling on construction sites. Though they weren't highly educated, they possessed the simplest kind of brotherhood code. Because I had provided them with affordable, tasty meals, they were naturally willing to stand up for me. Zhang Chong and his crew usually only bullied the honest folks in town, so they had never seen anything like this. Thus, Zhang Chong blustered with false bravado. "What do you think you're doing? Let me tell you, my uncle is Zhang Daxian." Foreman Zhang spat disdainfully, then said, "Zhang Daxian is your uncle? Then who's your father? The Jade Emperor? Get the hell out of here, before we make you." Zhang Chong tried to throw out a few more threats, but seeing the crowd growing around him, he completely lost his nerve, so he and his lackeys scrammed, stumbling over themselves, yelling, "Let's get out of here." The crowd burst into laughter. I watched Zhang Chong and his men scurry away, then looked at the workers who had spontaneously defended me. A wave of warmth surged through my heart, so I walked over, and bowed deeply to Foreman Zhang. "Brother Zhang, and all you masters, thank you for today." Foreman Zhang waved his hand generously, and said, "No need to thank us. We just can't stand those bastards like you, Boss Fu. From now on, this place of yours is under our protection. Anyone who dares come looking for trouble with you is picking a fight with our thousands of brothers." As soon as he said that, everyone around cheered in agreement. Right, picking a fight with our thousands of brothers. At that moment, I stood in the center of the crowd, looking at those honest, sincere faces, and felt an indescribable sense of gratitude. And in the distance, Zhang Daqian watched as his own nephew was shooed away in disgrace, shaking with rage. Only then did he realize things had gradually slipped beyond his control. And me, an orphan he had never taken seriously, had already grown wings stronger than he ever imagined. At the same time, not far away, the main structure of my 4-story building was complete, awaiting exterior decoration. Truth be told, I had already decided on its name, Cloud Hotel. I made a silent vow that everyone who looked down on me would have no choice but to look up at my existence from the ground. After Zhang Chong and his men slunk away in humiliation, the atmosphere at the gas station reached an unprecedented peak. Foreman Zhang slapped a stack of cash on the table. Boss Fu, if you look down on us roughnecks, then take this money back. We're helping you, not because we want to take advantage of you. We think it's admirable that a young man like you dares to stand up to those people. We respect you as a person. In the end, I couldn't talk them out of it, so I had to take the money. But I knew in my heart, what I had gained was far more valuable than that cash. What I truly gained was people's trust. Word quickly reached the ears of the airport project headquarters. At first, they were nervous. Thousands of workers gathered at an uncontrolled private site. Seemed like a huge safety risk in their eyes. It was said the headquarters held an emergency meeting that night. Someone proposed shutting down my hotel outright and forcing all the workers back into the sealed construction site. That proposal was immediately met with fierce opposition from the construction contractor. If we lock them up by force, it will only make the conflict and pressure pile up. Sooner or later, something big will happen. After a long debate, a compromise was put forward. Instead of treating it as a threat, why not turn it into a controllable partner? Soon, a SUV bearing the plates of the Anning Airport construction headquarters pulled up at the entrance of my worksite. A man in his 30s got out and walked straight toward me. His tone was polite as he asked, "Are you Boss Fu Qing?" I looked at him cautiously and replied, "I am." He extended his hand to introduce himself. "Hello, my name is Qin Shou. I'm the Deputy Director of the Logistics Support Department for the airport project. Can I have a word with you?" I hesitated for a moment, but in the end, I sat down with him at an empty table in the gas station. I poured him a cup of herbal tea and asked Director Qin, "What brings you here?" Qin Shou smiled. His smile was gentle as he said, "Boss Fu, don't be nervous. I'm not here to cause trouble today. I'm here to discuss a business deal with you." I was stunned by his words and asked back, "A deal?" Qin Shou adjusted his glasses and answered directly, "Yes, our headquarters, after careful consideration, unanimously agreed that your gas station has made a very positive contribution to the steady progress of our airport project. We are very grateful to you for providing the workers with such a great place to relax." Hearing this, I was caught off guard. I had originally thought they would come to cause trouble sooner or later. Then Qin Shou took a document from his briefcase and said, "We'd like to sign a formal cooperation agreement with you. Our headquarters will officially authorize your gas station to become the #1 living service zone for the Anning International Airport project. We will provide you with an official plaque and also give you a monthly subsidy. We have only one request." My heart started to race. Then I asked, "What request is that?" Qin Shou looked at me, his eyes full of sincerity, and said, "Ensure food safety, ensure price stability, so the workers can eat with peace of mind and enjoy their meals. Boss Fu, we know that your current pricing leaves almost no profit. We're giving you a subsidy. We hope you can keep this up for the long haul. You've helped stabilize our home front, so we can focus on building the front line." At that moment, I looked at the agreement on the table. Looking at the word cooperation on it, my eyes suddenly felt a little hot. Su Wan's strategy. That clever move of winning by surprise. In the end, it was realized in a way I never expected. I not only became an ally of the airport project, I even became one of their officially recognized insiders. I answered immediately, "I agree." I picked up the pen and signed my name on the agreement. Qin Shou happily put away the agreement, said, "Boss Fu, looking forward to working with you. If there's anything we can help with in the future, or if anyone comes to harass you, you can call me anytime." After sending Qin Shou off, I immediately called Su Wan and said excitedly, "Hey Su Wan, we made it." Su Wan laughed on the other end of the line. "I knew it all along, Qin. Remember this. When you can provide value that others can't refuse, you'll become a partner everyone wants to win over, not an ant that can be trampled on at will. From now on, your battlefield has been upgraded." Sure enough, the next day, a brand new blue sign was hung in the most prominent spot of the gas station. On it were 2 lines of large characters, Designated Living Service Area for Anning International Airport Project. Supervised by the Logistics Support Department of the Anning Airport Construction Headquarters. This sign was like a general's battle flag in ancient times. As soon as it was hung up, the entire atmosphere of the gas station changed. So the workers, seeing the sign, stood even straighter. Spending money here was no longer just about eating and drinking. It was a welfare recognized by the authorities. At this point, my identity shifted from a controversial individual business owner to a legitimate red-top merchant. I could clearly feel Jung Daekyun's all-seeing eyes had eased up a lot after seeing this sign, at least for the next week. No more harassment incidents occurred. The construction site and the gas station both enjoyed a rare period of calm. But I knew this was only the calm before the storm. After all, Jung Daekyun was not the kind of man to just let things go. Sure enough, trouble arrived a week later, in a way I never expected. That morning, Old Lee, the truck driver who delivered pork to me, came to me with a worried look. "Boss Fu, I'm sorry, but the meat might not make it today." My heart sank. I quickly asked what was wrong. "Master Lee." Old Lee lit a cigarette, took a deep drag, sighed, and said, "Don't even mention it. I went to pick up the goods early this morning and got stopped by the town's transport authority halfway. They said I was in violation and wanted to impound my truck and fine me. My truck wasn't even half its rated load capacity. I argued with them, but they said it's a 10,000 yuan fine, or they'd impound the truck for a month." Hearing that, my heart sank instantly. This was no coincidence. It was clearly Jung Daekyun's new tactic. He didn't dare to go after me directly anymore, so he started hitting my upstream supply chain. Old Lee went on helplessly. "It's not just me. This morning, the trucks delivering vegetables, and the ones delivering oil and grain, were all stopped at different intersections. They came up with all sorts of excuses, like hygiene violations. Anyway, the trucks were impounded and fines were given. Now all the drivers who deliver to us in town are too scared to come anywhere near your place. They're all afraid." What a brilliant move, cutting off the supply at the source. You see, the hotel consumes a huge amount of ingredients every day. Once the supply chain is broken, we'd have to shut down within 2 days. By noon, the effects of the food shortage began to show. Several workers wanted to order certain dishes, but they couldn't because there was no one to cook them. Although they all expressed understanding, I could see the disappointment in their eyes. Seeing this, I grew anxious, so I immediately called Director Chin and explained the situation to him. Director Chin flew into a rage on the phone. "Outrageous. This is utter nonsense. This is sabotaging the normal operation of the airport project." He immediately agreed to go negotiate with the town government. But an hour later, he called back and said helplessly, "Fucking, I talked to them. They paid lip service beautifully, saying they would correct it right away. But they're still setting up barricades everywhere. This is local protectionism. It's their internal chain of interests. We are the headquarters. We have no direct authority over local administration. These people are just playing dirty with us. It seems counting on others is unreliable. I have to find my own way to break through." I immediately dialed Su Wan's number. "Su Wan, do me a favor. Those city wholesale market contacts you gave me earlier, are they still there?" Su Wan immediately asked. "Yes, why? What happened?" I then briefly explained Jung Daekyun's tactics and my predicament, in simple terms. After a few seconds of silence on her end, Su Wan commented, "That's ruthless. He's trying to force you into a corner. Aching, what do you plan to do?" "Sourcing from the city. That's quite a distance. The costs will be much higher. And you don't have a vehicle, you can rent one. Or buy a used one. A bit higher cost. It doesn't matter. The subsidy from Director Chin can be used for that. The most important thing is, I want control over my supply source. I don't want to be strangled by others anymore." There was approval in Su Wan's voice. I answered decisively, "What boldness. Now that's something worth doing. Leave it to me. I have a client in the used car business. I'll have him find you a sturdy, reliable small truck with the paperwork. I'll handle the money for you. I'll front it from my own pocket. Don't you worry about it. As for the wholesale market, I'll put in a good word for you. Get them to set aside the best stock and give you the best wholesale price. Aching, just remember this. Anning Town is just a small pond. Making big money makes you a big fish in a pond. But once you leave this pond, you're nothing at all. What you need to do is sink your roots into the rivers and seas beyond this pond." Su Wan's words enlightened me completely. I had been fixated on fighting him over land right here in Anning Town, but I forgot I could simply bypass him and go to a much broader platform. 2 days later, a half-used blue small truck pulled up at the entrance to my construction site. Su Wan drove it over herself and handed me the keys. "You have a driver's license, right?" I answered with confidence. "Got it back in college. But I haven't driven in a while." Su Wan reassured me. "No problem. This truck is tough. Drive it however you like." Su Wan then opened the back The cargo bed was packed full. She said with a smile, I grabbed this first batch for you from the wholesale market on my way here. Take a look and check the goods. At that moment, looking at the truck full of fresh ingredients, and at Suwon, who had clearly come straight from her trip, my nose tingled, and I couldn't help but choke up. Suwon quickly patted me on the shoulder and said, all right, don't get all sentimental. Hurry up and unload the goods. The workers are still waiting to eat. When your hotel opens, just save a few presidential suites for me. That night, the food at the gas station was more abundant than ever. When the workers found out that I personally drove to bring these dishes back from the city tens of kilometers away, everyone was shocked. Foreman Zhang walked up to me holding a bowl of liquor, his face flushed with excitement. Boss Fu, in all my life I've rarely admired anyone, but you are one. For this sincerity of yours, will work for you. This gas station is the home for all of us. Whoever dares to touch our home, we'll never let him off. Then hundreds of workers shouted in unison. Everyone's home. Whoever dares to touch our home, I'll never let him off. At that moment, I knew Zhang Daxian's plan to cut the ground from under me had completely failed. He not only failed to crush me, but instead tied me irrevocably to these honest workers. Since acquiring my own trucks and independent supply chain, my gas station has completely stabilized its position. I devoted all my energy back to the construction of the hotel. The designer Suwon found for me was indeed very skilled. He designed a modern minimalist style for my hotel. Against the backdrop of the messy construction site around it, it looked like a piece of art, airlifted from a future city onto this land. At the same time, on Beast's suggestion, I opened a small supermarket, selling cigarettes, snacks, and daily necessities. In addition, I bought several washing machines, offering laundry services. So far, my gas station had become a fully functional micro-community, perfectly solving all the worries of the airport workers. And so, my reputation spread through the words of these workers. Across the entire airport project, everyone knew that there was a young boss called Father next to the construction site. One day, I was doing the accounts at the gas station, when Beast suddenly came in with several people. The leader among them was a middle-aged man in his 40s, followed by two young men, holding a notebook and camera in hand. He then enthusiastically introduced, Boss Fu, let me introduce you. This is the project development manager from the headquarters of China Southern Airlines. Chen Mo, Manager Chen. He's here for a preliminary inspection of the airport's future route operations. I heard. My heart stirred. I immediately stood up and extended my hand. Hello, Manager Chen. Chen Mo shook my hand, a commercial smile on his face. Boss Fu, I've heard so much about you. Director Chen has been praising you nonstop along the way. I quickly replied modestly. Manager Chen, you flatter me, Chen Mo. Then he got straight to the point. We just took a walk around the airport construction site, and then we saw this very stylish building of yours. Director Chen mentioned that this is a hotel about to open. Are you the owner? I answered affirmatively, yes. Hearing this, Chen Mo then made a request. Can you give us a tour? I immediately replied, of course. So I put down my ledger and led them toward my hotel. Along the way, Chen Mo asked me many questions. My answers were steady and clear. When I brought them into the hotel lobby, still under renovation, all of them were stunned. Standing here, you could clearly see in the distance at the construction site, row after row of tower cranes hard at work. It wasn't hard to imagine. In the near future, here you would see silver planes take off and land. The visual impact was unmatched. Chen Mo couldn't help but praise sincerely. Remarkable. Boss Fu, you have excellent vision. While everyone else was focused on demolition compensation, you saw the future value. At the same time, the assistant behind him kept taking photos and recording nonstop. Then we walked to the rooftop observation deck. Standing here, the entire airport construction site comes into view. Chen Mo looked into the distance silently and slowly spoke. The crew members of our airline need to rest in the landing city after each flight mission. We have very high requirements for contract hotels. Safety, privacy, and convenience are all indispensable. Your hotel has a unique geographical advantage. It is the closest to the airport, even closer than our planned staff dormitory. He then turned his head and looked at me, a glimmer shining in his eyes. Boss Fu, after your hotel opens, are you interested in becoming the crew members of our China Southern Airlines at Anning Airport designated hotel? Hearing this, my heart suddenly leaped. Signing a long-term cooperation agreement with an airline means that before my hotel even opens, it already has the most stable and highest quality customer base. This is undoubtedly what I have dreamed of, so I suppressed my inner excitement and replied, of course I'm interested. Chen Mo nodded with satisfaction upon hearing this. Good. When your hotel is officially completed, we will send a professional team to conduct an assessment. If possible, we will sign a strategic cooperation agreement. Then he took a business card out of his pocket and handed it to me. Keep in touch. After seeing off Chen Mo and his group, I stood alone on the rooftop, feeling the wind. Felt like everything was a dream. Just as I was about to go downstairs, the corner of my eye caught a glimpse of a car parked at the end of the dirt road in the distance. That was Zhang Daxian's car. He was sitting in the car, and there was another person sitting next to him. At that moment, Zhang Daxian seemed to be pointing at my hotel and saying something to him. So I calmly walked downstairs and sent a message to Su Wan. Help me look up a person. Then I used my phone to zoom in from the rooftop, took a blurry side profile photo of those two men. Added, the one in the suit sitting next to Zhang Daxian. I want all her information, the more detailed, the better. Su Wan replied almost instantly, got it. Trouble? I replied, probably real trouble this time. After putting down my phone, I walked to the construction site entrance and said to Uncle Zhao, Uncle Zhao, do me a favor. Uncle Zhao immediately answered, Qing. Go ahead, I explained. Find someone to make a sign for me. Best wood, hand-carved. Uncle Zhao asked curiously, what should it say? So I took out a pen and paper and wrote down 8 characters stroke by stroke. Non-paying guests strictly prohibited. Uncle Zhao stared at those 8 words for a moment, then smiled and said, got it. This is to set some rules for certain people. I'll go find the best carpenter in town right now. I'll make sure it's done crystal clear. 3 days later, a sign carved from a single piece of rosewood stood at the most visible spot at the entrance of my hotel construction site. And the appearance of this sign immediately caught everyone's attention. Workers passing by on their way to eat at the gas station would glance at it, then smile knowingly. Obviously, they all understood who the sign was meant for. Of course, Zhang Daxian saw it too. Of course, he knew that non-paying guests referred to him and the distinguished guest he had brought. I was telling them in the most direct way, my turf is not welcome to your spying. That night, Su Wan called. Qing, I found out that man is called Ji Buchang. He's the boss of Huayu Capital in the city. His specialty is finding projects with huge potential value, but with weaknesses or disputes, then using various means to forcefully acquire them at low prices, package them, and resell for huge profits. Over the years, companies he's driven to ruin. Every word Su Wan said made my heart sink a little more. I asked in confusion, how did he end up with Zhang Daxian? Su Wan replied immediately, I checked the business registration, one of Ji Buchang's investment companies. Last month, with Zhang Daxian's younger brother, registered a new company together, called Anning Konggang Company, Ltd. Su Wan then asked, the registered address of the company. Guess where it is? Upon hearing this, my mind went blank with a bang. I answered that it was my home. Su Wan's voice was icy. That's right. It's the address of your plot of land. Everything became clear. Zhang Daxian never intended to let me have peace from the start. He excluded me from the red line, just to keep this piece of land. He knew this land would appreciate in the future. So he had his younger brother team up with Ji Buchang, wanting to turn this land into their own pocket. I built a hotel here, blocking their path to profit. That's why they want to use every means to drive me away, turning my hotel into their hotel. Those petty tricks before were just appetizers. Now the real capital predator Ji Buchang has personally stepped in. I asked Su Wan worriedly what they would do. Su Wan then replied, Ji Buchang's methods usually come in 3 steps. First, smear campaign in public opinion. Tarnish your reputation. Make everyone think you're a nuisance. Shake your partner's confidence. Second, legal lawsuits. Sue you with all kinds of fabricated charges. Drain your energy and funds. Third, cut the ground from under your feet. Strike at your cash flow. And your team. Make you collapse from within. Once you're worn down enough, he will appear as a savior and offer you an insulting low price you can't refuse to buy everything you have. I listened to Su Wan's analysis and remained silent for a long time, then slowly spoke up. I understand. Since he wants to play, then I'll play along to the end. Upon hearing this, Su Wan looked worried. Qing, I said to Su Wan, keep an eye on Ji Buchang and that new company for me. All the financial transactions and movements. I need to know his every step of the plan. Also, regarding China Southern, I'll push for a partnership as soon as possible. I need a powerful official ally to back me up. And my hotel must be finished and opened as fast as possible. As soon as I start generating cash flow, I can outlast him. I've got the drive. After laying out my plan, Su Wan let out a long sigh. Qing, you've really grown up. I looked out the window at that no entry sign. I was forced to. This world doesn't believe in tears. If you want to survive, you have to become a tougher fighter than your enemy. Ji Buchang's attack came faster and more fiercely than I expected. Overnight, on several local forums in Anning Town, and on some city self-media accounts, a series of harshly worded articles appeared. The headlines were sensational. Illegal tumor beside the airport. Who gave him the privilege to defy the plan? Where did a young man get 5 million? Unveiling the capital behind Cloud Hotel. Suspected safety alert. Hotel less than 100 meters from the runway. Could become a major hazard for future flights. In the articles, I was portrayed as a greedy, mysterious background, holdout who disregards public safety for money. At the same time, they hinted that my loan was illegitimate, even insinuating that I had improper dealings with the bank and the airport authorities. Su Wan and Ji Buchang were also implicated by innuendo. These articles spread like a virus online. The townspeople were already envious and curious about me, and now the gossip was rampant. See, I told you. How could a young guy have such ability? There must be someone behind him. Now it's blown up. Let's see how he handles this. Li Shun was especially gleeful, forwarding these articles in the village WeChat group, adding her own embellishments, saying, "This is called fortune not matching virtue. Disaster is inevitable." Negative public opinion quickly reached the airport project headquarters. Director Chin called me right away. His tone was very anxious. "Fucking, have you seen those articles online? The leadership at the headquarters is taking this very seriously. They're under a lot of pressure." I answered in a calm voice. "I've seen them, Director Chin. Don't worry. I'll handle this. The truth will speak for itself." After hanging up the phone, I didn't even have time to catch my breath before Uncle Zhao came to me, his face filled with anger. "Aching, this is just too much." I asked in confusion. "What's wrong?" Uncle Zhao then said indignantly, "Just now, some construction company from the city called Hongfa Construction sent people to our worksite and specifically asked to poach my senior workers. They're offering double the wages, and they'll also pay for social insurance and housing fund. A few of the young workers are already tempted." My heart sank. I found those young workers who were tempted. I didn't scold them. I just looked at them calmly and said, "Everyone wants to move up. I understand you want to go. I won't stop you. As for your wages, I'll pay every cent to you without holding back. But for those who leave, the doors of Cloud Hotel will never be open to you again." After saying that, I turned and left. Those young workers stood there, looking at each other. In the end, none of them left. Maybe they weren't the most loyal people, but they weren't foolish. They could see who was truly building something, and who was just here to cause trouble. Uncle Zhao's team was stabilized. The next day, I received a court summons from an environmental technology company I had never heard of, claiming that construction noise and light pollution were seriously affecting the operation of their company's precision instruments. They were suing me for 1 million yuan in damages, and demanding my hotel stop construction immediately. The registered address of this company was on a piece of wasteland a few kilometers away. There's not even a ghost there. This is a blatant malicious lawsuit. The goal is to stall me, drain me of my money. I have to spend money hiring a lawyer to prepare for the case. My funds were already stretched thin. Now there was another huge expense. I could only sleep 3 or 4 hours a day. During the day, I have to handle the construction site matters, calm down the workers' emotions, hold meetings with the lawyer. At night, I have to drive to the city myself to restock. When I get back, I also have to check on the gas station business. The immense pressure nearly suffocates me. For the first time, I began to doubt myself. My opponent is a financial titan with massive capital and a professional team, while I only have a small team and a lone, reckless courage. Just then, Su Wan called. "Ah Ching, don't be afraid. I know everything." Ji Buchang's 3 tricks are his usual moves. Many people have fallen here, but you won't. Go outside the gas station and take a look. I wiped my tears, walked to the door in confusion, and saw on the empty lot outside the gas station dozens of workers who had just finished their shift gathered together, holding their phones. They were leaving comments one by one under those articles smearing me. "Bullshit. Boss Fu's meals are the cheapest and cleanest in the whole Anning town. I'm working on the Cloud Hotel construction site myself. The safety standards here are higher than many big developments in the city. Who's spreading rumors? I'll go tear his mouth apart. If this hotel is illegal, then there are no legal buildings in the world. Boss Fu has all the paperwork in order. Support Boss Fu in taking down those backstabbers." Their language was coarse, even laced with swear words. They only knew that whoever treated them well, they would stand up for them. Watching them, my tears welled up again. This time it was because I was moved. I suddenly understood. Ji Buchang has money, has a team, has resources, but I have something he will never possess. I have the stars. I sniffled, stepped forward. "Brother Zhang." "Everyone, masters." Brother Zhang smiled at me when he saw me. "Thank you all." "What's there to thank? We just can't stand those bastards bullying a good person." Another worker chimed in. "Boss Fu, don't be afraid. We have thousands of brothers standing with you. If they dare touch a single hair on you, we'll raze their den to the ground." I looked at their honest, determined faces. The confusion and fear in my heart vanished. I straightened up again. Dialed Manager Chen's number at China Southern Airlines. Hello, Manager Chen. This is Fu Qing. The rumors about me online. You must have seen them. I don't want to make pointless explanations. I only want to invite you and your evaluation team to come to my hotel anytime for an on-site inspection. Also, I want to make a bet with you. If the evaluation passes, I hope we can sign the contract immediately. In return, for the first 3 years of cooperation, I'll give you a 20% discount. If the evaluation fails, I'll cover all the travel expenses for your team. I'm betting on my reputation, and also on my future. This call of mine caught Manager Chun by great surprise. Boss Fu, you've got real guts. I admire people with guts. All right, 3 days from now, I'll bring our most professional team over. I hope you won't let me down. I replied, it's a deal. After hanging up, I immediately found Uncle Zhao. Uncle Zhao, we must, within 3 days, make the hotel ready to receive the evaluation team. I poured all my remaining funds into this final push. The core parts of the hotel that best showcase its value, perfectly present them before the team. I abandoned those time-consuming and labor-intensive fine decorations. I told everyone, we are not decorating. We are fighting. The workers' enthusiasm was completely ignited by me. Foreman Zhang and his crew even volunteered, not resting after their shifts, coming directly to my construction site to help. The airport, with thousands of workers, and my hotel site formed a wondrous synergy. By day they toiled at the airport. By night they lit temporary floodlights at my place, continuing to work late into the night. The entire site, 24 hours a day, blazed with light, bustling with voices. This fearless drive shocked everyone. 3 days later, when the China Southern Airlines evaluation team, led by Chun Mo, came to my hotel again, every one of them was stunned by the sight before them. In just a few days, the building had been completely transformed. The core area already showed the prototype of a 5-star hotel. I led them up to the top-floor observation terrace, where comfortable outdoor tables and chairs had been set up. I invited Manager Chun to take a seat and brewed a cup of hot tea for each of them, introducing this place. In the future, this will be our Cloud Hotel's Airport View Executive Lounge. Every China Southern Airlines crew member staying at our hotel can enjoy top-tier views and the most relaxing environment here. Chun Mo held his teacup, gazing at the massive terminal in the distance, his eyes full of awe. The team members behind him held various instruments, conducting rigorous tests in every corner of the hotel. My heart was in my throat the whole time. An hour later, all tests were completed. A technical lead with glasses walked over to Chun Mo, handing him a report that had just been produced. Chun Mo took the report and read it very carefully. He read it extremely slowly. My palms were completely sweaty. Finally, he put down the report. He looked at me with sharp eyes. Boss Fu, I have to admit you've created a miracle. Whether it's the construction quality or the design concept, your hotel has exceeded our expectations, especially the soundproofing treatment. Indoor noise is controlled below 40 dB. That's truly remarkable. Hearing that, my heart finally settled back down. For this soundproofing effect, we gave up those time-consuming and labor-intensive fine decorations. Now it seems, it was all worth it. Then there was a moment of silence. He shifted his tone. But your hotel is currently only half finished. Many supporting facilities are not yet complete. This doesn't meet our cooperation commitments. I took a deep breath, just about to state my backup plan. Chun Mo smiled instead. But personally, I'm very optimistic about your future. So I've decided to take a gamble with you too. As he spoke, he pulled 2 documents from his briefcase. One was a hotel cooperation letter of intent. The other was a private angel investment agreement. Chun Mo explained, we can sign this letter of intent first. It represents the official stance of China Southern Airlines. It can help you fend off a lot of external pressure. Then he pushed the second document in front of me. As for this investment agreement, this is my personal investment in your hotel, under my wife's name. 1 million, to help you get through the current difficulties, to fully complete the hotel. I don't want your equity. Consider it a loan from me. Once your hotel turns a profit, just repay me the principal plus interest. I never dreamed he would support me in this way. My voice trembling, I asked. Chun Mo took a sip of tea, his gaze distant as he said, because in you, I see my younger self. With nothing, yet daring to declare war on the whole world. Few young people like this remain. I don't want to see your dream strangled in the cradle by those dirty capitalists. My eyes welled up. I stood up and gave him a deep bow, then said, Manager Chen, thank you. I Fu Qing swear here and now, I will never let your trust down. That afternoon, on the rooftop of my half-finished hotel, I signed that million-yuan agreement. The moment my pen touched the paper, I received a message from Su Wan. Ji Buchang had started a hostile takeover of our bank's stock on the secondary market. He wants to force me out. I stared at the message, then looked up into the distance. I knew the real battle had begun. Manager Chen's 1 million yuan private investment was like a shot of adrenaline into my nearly dried-up cash flow. But Su Wan's text hit me like a bucket of ice water poured over my head. I knew Su Wan had become a target, all because of me. I dialed Su Wan's number. The phone rang for a long time before she picked up. Her voice sounded unusually weary as she said, "Ah Ching, I'm in a meeting. Keep it brief." I hurriedly asked, "How are you?" "Is he?" Su Wan cut me off, her tone feigning lightness. "It's nothing. Just normal business moves in the market. Don't worry about me. I can handle it. You just focus on finishing your hotel. That's the biggest support you can give me. A man like Ji Buchang cares most about profit. As long as your project succeeds, proves my initial judgment was right, and those old fossils on the bank's board will have nothing to say." I knew she was trying to comfort me. Ji Buchang was using his massive capital to pressure the entire bank, aiming to force them to sacrifice Su Wan, the loan approver. I spoke softly into the phone. "Su Wan, I'm sorry." There was a moment of silence on the other end. Comforted him. "We are friends. I'm helping you not as an investment, but out of trust. Don't overthink it, take it easy. Remember, if you win, only then will all of us win. I'll hang up now. Call me if anything comes up." Hung up the phone. The words friend and trust weighed on my heart like two heavy boulders. Cannot lose. Not just because of my hotel, but also for Su Wan's future and her silent faith. I returned to the construction site. Zhang Daxian and the workers were anxiously waiting. When they saw me, they all asked with concern, "Ah Ching, what did China Southern say?" I tucked away all my emotions, put on a smile, and said they were very satisfied. They will sign a letter of intent with us. Cheers erupted across the site. That's great. All the hard work these past few days has finally paid off. Looking at their honest smiles, I announced on the spot, all workers involved in the rush job this month will get double pay, and a red envelope of 1,000 yuan for every airport worker who came to help. The next day, Shinemo transferred the 1 million investment into my account. At the same time, China Southern's legal department sent over a scanned copy of the signed letter of intent, with China Southern's official endorsement. Those rumors about my mysterious background and illegal construction were shattered. Then I called Director Chin. "Director Chin, I want to hold a press conference under the name of the Airport Command Center." Director Chin paused and asked, "A press conference about what?" I explained immediately, the official debut of Cloud Hotel, and our tripartite cooperation vision with the airport and China Southern. I want to invite reporters from all major media outlets in the city, and even the province, to explain the whole story of building the hotel in front of everyone, and also make public the letter of intent from China Southern and all legal permits, for everyone to see. Director Chin immediately understood my intention. You want to use their own strength against them, completely reverse public opinion. I answered word for word. Yes. I don't want to play hide and seek with them anymore. I'm going to lay all my cards on the table. Since they want me to become famous, then I'll become a thoroughly infamous beast. On the other end of the phone, he pondered for a long time. This is also a risk for him. Once any mistake happens at the press conference, he will also bear responsibility. Finally, he made up his mind and said, "Okay, I support you. The airport project needs a partner like you. The development of Anning Town also needs this kind of vitality. As for the journalists, I'll arrange the venue. Use the conference room of the Airport Command Center. Set the time for the press release 3 days from now. Let's fight a great comeback together." 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Chincho has a wide network of contacts. He managed to invite almost every notable media outlet in the city. At 10 in the morning, the press conference officially began. I took a deep breath and walked up to the podium. "Dear friends from the media, distinguished guests, hello everyone. My name is Fu Qing. I am the founder of Cloud Hotel. I know there have been many rumors online recently about me and this hotel. Some say I'm mysterious. Some say the source of my funds is unclear. And others say this building is a tumor next to the airport. Standing here today, I want to tell everyone that none of this is true. I'm just an ordinary boy from Anning Town. My parents passed away early and left me this old house when the whole town was being demolished, when only my house was left outside the red line. I did not cry or make a fuss. I just felt that fate had left me here. There must be a reason for it. I took out all the inheritance my parents left and borrowed 300,000 from the bank. I managed to scrape together 500,000 in starting capital. I tore it down and rebuilt it. I wanted to turn it from an abandoned old house into a hotel that could serve the new airport. I named it Cloud 9. I hoped it could soar toward the clouds like an airplane, flying toward a higher future. My voice was calm. I wasn't trying to be dramatic. I was stating a fact. A story of how a young man, relying on his own strength, defended his home. and chased his dream. The audience gradually fell silent. Many reporters put down their pens. Listening quietly to me, I continued, every penny of my funds is clean. The banker friend who provided my loan is now suffering an unjust accusation because of his professionalism and evidence. I looked at Suwon in the audience. She was sitting in an inconspicuous corner. Her eyes were a little red. Every step of my construction is legal and compliant. The person supervising the engineering quality for me is Director Chin from the Airport Command Center. Director Chin nodded at me. His eyes were full of encouragement. My future is by no means a malignant tumor, because I have already reached a preliminary strategic cooperation with Manager Shin from China Southern Airlines. I turned and pointed to the backdrop behind me, and the letter of intent hanging on the wall. In the future, this place will become the warmest haven for China Southern Airlines crew. As soon as I finished speaking, the entire venue erupted in an uproar. An official partnership with China Southern Airlines was definitely the biggest news of the day. All doubts seemed pale and powerless in the face of this document. I pointed to Secretary Zhao and Foreman Zhang in the front row. They responded openly, I don't have any mysterious background, just a heart that wants to do something for my hometown. What supports me is this land behind me that I love. It is the leaders at all levels who support me. It is the partners who trust me. It is the fellow workers who sweat and bleed with me. Then the press conference entered the Q&A session. A male reporter stood up and asked sharply, Mr. Fu, you just mentioned that your banker friend is being suppressed because of you. As far as I know, recently a company called Huayu Capital is conducting a hostile takeover of the bank where your friend works, and the several self-media outlets that smear you online also have Huayu Capital's fingerprints behind them. Do you consider this a malicious business act targeting you? The spotlight of the entire venue fell on me. After a moment of silence, I responded clearly. There are two kinds of people in this world. One kind sees value and tries to create it, protect it. The other kind only thinks of plundering it, destroying it, and then taking it for themselves. I welcome all creators, but will forever shut the door on those greedy plunderers. I believe that, under the sunlight, all conspiracies and schemes will eventually be exposed. The moment my words ended, thunderous applause erupted throughout the venue. That afternoon, news about the Cloud Hotel swept the front-page headlines of all media in the city. My image transformed from a controversial holdout into a legendary entrepreneurial pioneer, independent and tenacious, an outstanding youth who dares to say no to unjust fate and capital. But on the very day after the press conference ended, trouble came. In the morning, Uncle Zhao rushed to find me, shouting, Aching, something's wrong. The hotel's water supply has been cut off. My heart sank. I asked what happened. Didn't we pay the water bill on time? Uncle Zhao immediately replied that we had paid it, but the town's water plant said, the main pipe in our area needs a week of maintenance. This is the most common dirty trick used by local bullies. Without water, the final renovation work on the hotel would have to completely stop. What's worse, the gas station also couldn't operate normally. I immediately thought of the beast. But before I could call him, an unexpected person came to my door. He introduced himself. My name is Wang Weigua. I was once the chairman of Hongta Group. The name Hongta Group sounded familiar to me. It seemed to be a once very well-known local real estate company in the city. But a few years ago I heard that due to a capital chain rupture, it went bankrupt overnight. Wang Weigua looked at me with a complicated expression. I came today to tell you something. That Ji Buqing who pushed you to the brink is also the one who used the same methods to ruin me. I immediately realized that this man was not an enemy. He was a natural ally. I asked curiously, Chairman Wang, what exactly happened? Wang Weigua then sank into painful memories. I was developing a large commercial complex. Just like you are now. I invested everything I had. But right when the project was about to be completed, Ji Buqing appeared. Then he showed up like a savior, buying all my shares for less than 30% of their value. Along with that nearly finished project, I went from being a billionaire to a debt-ridden pauper. Wang Weigua's story was so similar to what I was going through. Only his ending was far more tragic than mine. Wang Weigua pulled a thick stack of documents from his briefcase. He said, over the years, I've been collecting evidence of his crimes. Ji Buqing acts ruthlessly, but he is overconfident. Many of his shady deals have left traces. A lot of them were conducted through a shell company registered overseas. He thought no one would know. But the man who helped him pull all those strings back then is now the one I've planted by his side. Here is evidence of his tax evasion and records of his bribery. Any one of these is enough to send him to hell. Looking at that stack of documents, my breathing became rapid. This wasn't just documents. It was clearly a blade that could finish him off. I asked urgently, Chairman Wang, you have all this. Why haven't you reported it? Wang Weigua shook his head bitterly. He replied, "It's useless. I tried. But Ji Buoqing's network of connections is too strong. A bankrupt old man like me can't stir up any trouble." All the materials I submitted disappeared without a trace. After speaking, he lifted his head. His eyes blazing, he looked at me and said, "But you are different. Wait, ID 2056 already done. Let me relist properly. I'll continue from 2064. You have the attention they lack, and the influence they cannot ignore. This knife in my hand is just a piece of scrap metal. But in your hand, it might be able to sever the dragon's head." I took the heavy stack of documents. My hands trembled slightly. I understood. Wang Weigua hadn't come to seek my help. He had come to entrust me with his hope for revenge. Just then, the bastard called me. "I already know about your mother's water being cut off. I just spoke with the city leaders." The division chief was very angry and personally intervened in the matter. "Don't worry. Within half an hour at most, the water and electricity will be restored. Also, the city's disciplinary inspection team has already entered Anning Town. The first person they will question is Zheng Daxian." I gripped the documents in my hand, listening to the bastard's voice on the phone. My heart a mix of emotions. I knew the time for counterattack had come. I lifted my head, my gaze utterly resolute, and made a solemn promise. "I accept this knife. I promise you. Justice may be delayed, but it will never be absent." The news spread even faster than the water cut-off notice. Zheng Daqian was called in and interrogated for a full 5 hours. When he came out, his once arrogant official demeanor was completely gone. Half an hour later, clear tap water flowed again from the faucet at my construction site. That evening, I locked myself in the office and went through the materials Wang Weigua had given me, carefully over and over. The crimes spanning several waves were far more shocking than I had imagined. Tax evasion, illegal transfer of assets, bribery, each count enough to put him behind bars for life. But I knew Ji Buoqing's foundation was too deep. His network of connections too complex. I had to use a method that left him no room to struggle. Nail him down completely with undeniable proof. So I called Su Wan. Said, "Su Wan, I need you. Help me contact someone absolutely reliable and influential enough at the provincial media level." Su Wan immediately understood my intention. She asked, "Do you want to blow him up?" I looked out the window at Zheng Daxian's office building. Pitch black in the night. Answered, "No. I'm going to put him on trial." A producer from the provincial TV station's focus tracking program. He was my senior from university, a man of integrity, who hated the corrupt hands in the capital market most. Their program had the highest ratings among all in-depth investigative shows in the province. Anyone they targeted either died or was ruined. I made my decision and chose him. From that thick stack of documents, I pulled out one page. It was a clear record of Ji Buoqing manipulating stock prices through an overseas shell company, illegally profiting nearly 100 million yuan. I didn't reveal all my cards. Dealing with an old fox like Ji Buoqing meant peeling off his disguise layer by layer, like an onion, making him feel endless torment and fear. I used an encrypted email, sent that document to the focus tracking program team. I didn't sign my name, only wrote one sentence at the end of the email. "This is just the beginning." 2 days later, the provincial TV station's focus tracking aired on schedule. The title of that episode was extremely striking. Dark Secrets Behind Tens of Billions of Capital. Ji Buoqing's Hidden Wealth Empire. The program unfolded like a suspense thriller. Using detailed data and anonymous expert interviews, it unraveled the evidence I had provided thread by thread, clearly presenting it to millions of viewers across the province. The host asked in a cold tone, "Why has our capital market become a lawless ATM for some people? Why has our regulatory system? Why would they turn a blind eye to such illegal acts?" I knew Ji Buoqing's end had begun. That night, Huayu Capital's official website was crashed by furious shareholders. The next day, Huayu Capital's stock opened with a limit down. Massive sell orders sealed off every escape route like a waterfall. Ji Buoqing's phone was ringing off the hook. Questions, insults, announcements of withdrawal of investment, demands to cancel contracts. The business empire he had painstakingly built over many years began to show signs of collapse after just one weekend. And the last straw that broke the camel's back came from Zheng Daqian of Anning Town. Finally unable to bear the pressure, he turned in Ji Buoqing, including how he had conspired with Ji Buoqing to seize my land, including how many favors he had received from Ji Buoqing, and how many shady things he had done for him. The investigation team quickly discovered the Anning Airport Service Company, Ltd., that he had co-founded with Ji Buoqing's younger brother. In the end, Zheng Daqian was formally handed over to judicial authorities. That night, the gas station had closed early. The workers had also returned to the dormitories. I stayed in the office because I had to check the accounts for a batch of new decoration materials. Uncle Zhao was worried and stayed with me. Uncle Zhao looked out at the pouring rain and said with concern, "Aching is off today. I'm afraid something is going to happen." I also felt an inexplicable restlessness. Just then, the office door was violently pushed open. A security guard on night duty rushed in and shouted in panic, "Boss Fu, Captain Zhao, it's bad. A group of people have come, all carrying weapons. They're smashing everything in sight and beating anyone they see. We can't stop them." Hearing this, Uncle Zhao jumped up, grabbed the shovel in the corner and cursed, "They really dare to come and die." My heart sank, but quickly calmed down. I instructed Uncle Zhao to call the police. The security guard said tremblingly, "It's too late. It's too late. They smashed all our phones. It looks like they want to destroy the entire construction site." I immediately realized, Ji Buchang meant business this time. They weren't street thugs. Their goal was to cause maximum damage. Trigger the most severe safety accident. If the site was destroyed or someone died, my hotel project would be completely ruined. I made a snap decision and said, "Uncle Zhao, you take people and guard the gate. Don't fight them head-on. Hold them off. Aching, what about you? I'll go find help." I went outside, heard the harsh sounds of smashing and arrogant cursing coming from the hotel building. A dozen shadows armed with machetes and iron bars were frantically destroying the glass curtain wall I had just installed. Suddenly, a blinding headlight flashed behind me. A black van with no license plates rushed straight at me at high speed. They wanted to run me over. My mind went blank. In the blink of an eye, Foreman Zhang lunged from the side, shoved me out of the way. "Boss, get out of here." Foreman Zhang's body flew through the air like a torn sack. The van didn't stop at all. In the rainy night, I screamed with all my heart, stumbling and crawling to his side. "Brother Zhang." He looked at me weakly, yet he was still smiling at me. Go now." My tears mixed with the rain, blurring my vision. "I can't go. If I leave, what about Uncle Zhao and the others? If I go?" A rage and murderous intent I had never felt before surged wildly from the depths of my heart. My eyes turned as cold as Antarctic ice. I didn't get into my own car. I turned and ran toward the idle bulldozer in the corner of the site. I turned and rushed to the idle bulldozer in the corner of the construction site. Foreman Zhang had already taught me how to operate this big machine. I started it up. The steel beast awakened in the rainy night, letting out a deafening roar. I drove the bulldozer. Slowly, yet with an irresistible pressure, I rolled forward. A thug screamed in terror, "Madman! He's insane!" Everyone was scared out of their wits. They scattered in all directions. I didn't chase them. Just then, a dozen police cars with flashing red and blue lights sliced through the rainy night and screeched to a halt. Zhang Daxian and Su Wan jumped out of the first car. They saw Foreman Zhang lying in a pool of blood. They saw the mess everywhere. And they saw me sitting in the bulldozer's cab. Su Wan ran up to the bulldozer cab. Her voice was trembling. "Aching, are you all right? Come down, quick." I leaped down from the high cab, crashing heavily into her arms. Su Wan didn't kill me. Su Wan held me tightly. Her voice choked. I know, it's over. It's all over, it's all over." I knew it wasn't over. Between Ji Buchang and me, from tonight onward, it's a fight to the death. Foreman Zhang was taken to the best hospital in the city. The doctor said he had lost a lot of blood, and his left leg was fractured. He needed surgery immediately, but his life was not in danger. I waited in the hospital corridor. The image of Foreman Zhang being knocked flying kept replaying in my mind. Su Wan took off her coat and draped it over me. Zhang Daxian stood aside, making phone calls non-stop, silent. The manager also knew. He used his connections with China Southern Airlines to pressure Shengli, demanding a thorough investigation and severe punishment without leniency. Ji Buchang's heavy blow may have cost me dearly, but it also completely shattered all the rules and understandings. He had pushed himself to stand against everyone. The police launched an operation overnight. He was quickly captured at various exits out of the city. The unmarked van that hit Foreman Zhang was also found in an abandoned quarry. The interrogation went unusually smoothly. Faced with solid evidence and immense pressure, these desperate men soon gave up their employer. It was Ji Buchang's most trusted assistant, also the one who carried out all his dirty work. When the police came knocking, that assistant chose to commit suicide out of guilt. He thought he could slip away like a cicada shedding its shell. He underestimated me, and also underestimated the materials Wang Weigua gave me. I walked up to Su Wan and the beast and said, "Su Wan, help me contact that producer from Focus Tracking." The next morning, I made 2 copies of the complete materials Wang Weigua gave me. One copy I personally handed over to the provincial TV station's Focus Tracking program. Immediately after, the focus tracking team spent a week producing a record-breaking 1-hour special. Having lost all protection, the tax authorities, the Securities Regulatory Commission, and the public security agencies swarmed in. All of Ji Buchang's assets were frozen. Huayu Capital was completely shut down. A capital empire that once dominated collapsed in just a few days, turning to dust. After the dust settled, everyone who had helped me came. I looked at the Anning International Airport, now officially operational, bustling with activity. I didn't give any passionate speech, just bowed deeply. Thank you all. Above the clouds, both mine and yours, is the top floor of the hotel. Still that observation terrace. But now, it had become the most expensive and beautiful scenery in all of Anning Town. Suwon walked over, handed me a glass of champagne, smiled and teased. You look like a successful man now. Aching, you know. What you've done is more than just building a hotel. You've changed this place. And changed many people. I smiled, looking at my hotel, bright with lights, full of guests. I knew that abandoned orphan had finally found his home. It was a middle-aged cadre sent down from the city, named Zhao Fuming. As a representative of young entrepreneurs, I attended the Future Development Planning Seminar for Anning Town. The meeting lasted an entire morning. Zhao Fuming did not hold back his praise for me during the meeting. President Fu's Cloud Hotel has set a great example for us. It proves that on the land of Anning Town, as long as you have vision and guts, you can definitely grow world-class fruits. All our future plans must measure up to the Cloud Hotel. We must turn this place into a hotbed for attracting investment, a home where all talents are willing to stay. At the end of the meeting, Zhao Fuming shook my hand and said sincerely, President Fu, in the past, the town let you down. In the future, the town needs your guidance. If there's anything you need help with, feel free to speak up. We will fully support you. Seeing the sparkle in his eyes, I knew the spring of Anning Town had truly arrived. The hotel's business was booming. Besides China Southern, crews from other airlines also began to come by reputation, seeking cooperation. Various business meetings and industry forums also chose to be held in my hotel. Going to the Cloud for meetings became a new trend in the city's business circle. And the gas station I built with my own hands was not forgotten. I upgraded and renovated it, turning it into a semi-open food court. It still maintained affordable prices and that local ambience, becoming the favorite late-night spot for airport ground staff and nearby residents. Uncle Zhao was officially hired as the director of the hotel's engineering department, responsible for the maintenance and management of all facilities. They became the technical backbone in various positions. Each of them wore brand new uniforms, becoming formal employees of a 5-star hotel. Wang Weigua also came to see me. As soon as we met, he bowed deeply to me. Thank you, Boss Fu. You gave me a second chance. I quickly helped him up. Uncle Wang, you're too kind. I just did what I had to do. It was the knife you gave me that allowed me to cut through the darkness. He told me he planned to use the money he got back to set up a legal aid fund, specifically to help entrepreneurs like him and me, who had been bullied by capital. He patted me on the shoulder and said with relief, I can't fight them anymore, but from now on, this world is yours. I saw him out of the hotel, watching his back no longer hunched, now straight again, disappear into the crowd. I knew an old era had ended. The hotel's operations were running smoothly in every way. I finally had some time to myself. The first thing I did was transfer Foreman Zhang from a regular ward to the city hospital's best VIP rehabilitation center. I would cover all the expenses. When I went to see him, he was lying in the hospital bed. Seeing me arrive, he was so excited he almost sat up. He said, Boss Fu, what are you doing here? This little injury of mine isn't worth you making a special trip. I placed a bouquet of flowers on his bedside table and said, Brother Zhang, this is no small injury. You were risking your life for me. The doctor said, your leg is recovering well, but it still needs a long period of rehabilitation. Just rest easy here. Don't worry about anything. Your salary will keep coming and the medical bills, I'll cover everything. This northerner, who never complained about hardship, now choked up like a child and said, Boss Fu, I, old Zhang, am more than satisfied. I patted him on the shoulder, said that from now on, I would be the one protecting our home. After leaving the hospital, I received a call from Suwon. The Cloud Hotel loan project Suwon was handling had earned great fame at the head office. Not only was she not punished, but she was instead given an extraordinary promotion. She became the youngest branch manager in the bank's history. She said with a smile over the phone, Mr. Fu, are you free tonight? I'd like to treat you to dinner. Where would you like to go? Right in your presidential suite at the Cloud Hotel. That evening, the kitchen prepared the most exquisite dinner. delivered to the presidential suite on the top floor. That was the room I had reserved exclusively for Suwon, never open to the public. From the suite's terrace, you could overlook the entire nightscape of Airport New City. When Suwon saw me arrive, she smiled and said, "Your view is still the best." I smiled and replied, "Well, look whose turf it is." We didn't talk about work, nor about those thrilling past events. We were just like two old friends who hadn't seen each other in a long time, sipping tea, chatting about trivial matters. Suddenly, she looked at me seriously and said, "Ah Ching, do you still remember? When you decided to build the hotel, I told you, when it opens, you have to give me a lifetime free presidential suite." I nodded upon hearing this. Now I've kept that promise. Suwon gave a self-deprecating smile and said, "Actually, I was joking at the time. Back then, I thought you were crazy. Opening a hotel with 500,000 yuan, on the ruins where everyone else was fleeing. I never believed you could succeed. I helped you only because I didn't want to see you lose too badly. I even prepared to help cover some of your losses." I listened quietly, saying nothing. She continued, "You turned an impossible dream into reality. You're far more impressive than I imagined." She stood up and walked over to me. "So today, I want to change my request. I don't want your presidential suite anymore." I lifted my head and looked at her face, so close, my heartbeat quickening a little. "Then what do you want?" She didn't answer, just slowly gave me a kiss. Then she held me, her voice trembling with a hint of hoarseness, and said, "Aching, I want you, the person." My tears fell again without any warning. I smiled and nodded firmly, and said, "Okay." That night we talked a lot about our plans for the future. It was also the second anniversary celebration of Cloud Hotel. Business elites, and government officials and local leaders all gathered together. I was wearing a custom-tailored black suit, holding Suwon's hand, standing at the entrance of the banquet hall, welcoming every arriving guest. Suwon had officially resigned from the bank, and become the CEO of Cloud Group. She handled all the complex business matters for me, so I could focus more on the group's strategic development. Chinsho also came. He was now the director of the Airport New City Management Committee, the undisputed top leader of this new city. He smiled when he saw me. "Deputy Mayor, you're now the biggest money god in our new city." Shinemo also flew in specially from Guangzhou. He was now the vice president of China Southern Airlines. As soon as he saw me, he gave me a warm hug. "Fucking the best investment I ever made in my life was the 1 million I invested in you on that rooftop 2 years ago." Uncle Zhao and Foreman Zhang were also standing behind me. One was the director of the engineering department, the other the director of the security department. After the banquet began. 2 years ago I stood here. Beneath my feet was still a pile of rubble. I thought I had been abandoned by the whole world. But today I stand here. Beneath my feet is the most prosperous heart of the entire Airport New City. What I want to say is, it's never about which side of the line we're drawn on that determines our worth. It's about where we choose to redraw our own starting line. The world may abandon you. You can choose to win the world back. My speech was very short, yet it won the warmest applause from the entire audience. The banquet wasn't over yet. I grabbed Suwon's hand and quietly sneaked out. We changed into casual clothes, like two ordinary lovers walking in the park. Children were laughing and playing in the park. Elderly people were walking and exercising. I saw a familiar figure. Aunt Lee was taking her little grandson to play on the slide. She saw me too, with an awkward and uneasy expression. You're really a big boss now." Back then I was a bit loose-tongued. "Don't take it to heart." I shook my head indifferently. "It's all in the past." Just then, her little grandson ran over, looking at me curiously. Aunt Lee quickly said, "This is the pride of our new town. He's the deputy manager of the Cloud Hotel. When you grow up, you should be as successful as Uncle Fu." I smiled, took a candy from my pocket and handed it to the child. We continued walking forward, arriving at the old site where my family used to live. Now it has become part of the hotel. A beautiful open-air garden. Suwon and I sat cuddled on a bench in the garden. In the distance, a huge passenger plane was slowly landing on the runway. Lights streaked across the night sky like shooting stars. Suwon suddenly asked, "Aching, have you ever regretted it?" Looking at the plane landing steadily. Looking at the myriad lights in the distance. Looking at the loved one beside me. I said softly, "I have never regretted it."